The last thing you want to consider in putting together your rendering is, well, what's the camera looking at? Well, just saying the word camera, that's an interesting point, because in the past I had to use the view command to establish what I wanted to see in the view. Well, you probably know that in AutoCAD now you can easily create a view by simply placing a camera into the model and then telling the camera what you want the camera to be looking at. It's a lot like the analogy of taking a camera and holding it up to your eye and taking a picture of something. So I can create a new view by simply selecting my camera tool and placing the camera in the model, and then AutoCAD will prompt me where do I want the camera located, and then what do I want the camera to look at. So we'll say we want the camera to look over here. Notice that AutoCAD adds a little icon that represents that camera. We call this a glyph. Each camera that I've placed in the model now has a glyph associated with it, and then since that camera behaves like any other object in AutoCAD, I can select that camera glyph and then display its properties palette and adjust the camera. I can also, once I've got the camera created, since the camera created a view, I can open up the View Manager, and I can select over here in the list on the left-hand side, we'll select the camera name. Now when I placed the camera, AutoCAD just named it Camera 1. If I wanted to, at the time I placed it, I could have actually given it a name that was associated with the view. But we'll select that camera, and then notice here I can see all of the properties associated with that camera. This just gives me a way to get back to the same location in the model if I want to render what that camera is seeing. But here's an interesting point, because I can not only control what is displayed by that view, but I can also control various aspects of the view. So in this case, where I've placed my camera, I'm looking right out the window of the back of this house. Right now, I'm just looking out this window at a blank background. But let's say I went out on the site. For example, this represents an actual house. Well, there's a view that I can see out the back window of the house. Well, just so happens that I've already taken a photograph of what I see. It's a nice view out over a lake. And so we can click in here and tell AutoCAD that, I don't want to just use a background color, but I want to use a named rendered image, an image that I've pre-saved. So I'm going to bring up this background dialog box, and I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to locate the actual digital photo and bring that in, and I'm going to tell AutoCAD that I want to, well, first of all, let's adjust the image, because I want that image to stretch so it fills the entire background. And we'll say OK, and we'll close out these dialog boxes, and I'm going to save that as part of the view. Okay, now when I restore that view, AutoCAD's not only going to restore the location of the camera and what it was looking at, but notice that I can now also see the lake right out through the window. So now I can see what's out there, and of course we haven't done this yet, but let's click on the render button and we'll let that render. And I'm going to speed this up. Let's look at the final results, because it just takes a long time to render. But as you can see, the materials that I've mapped onto the object and the lights that I had placed in this model are now shining. And we can see the nice view out through the window, showing the gorgeous view out through the back of the house overlooking the lake. So as you can see, we can bring all these tools together. I've got materials that I mapped onto objects. I've got lights that I placed in the model. I've got sunlight that's shining outside, and I've got the digital photograph that I had previously captured of the view looking out that back window. And I can bring all of this together to create literally photorealistic images all inside of AutoCAD using the tools that you've already got that came with the software.